New addition to the kingdom when it comes to the practice balls you can get here. There is now a PIX on the range, so we can easily identify between the two models, lead models in the TP5 and the TP5X golf ball. What else does that have in conjunction with today's title and today's video? Well, Mr. Tommy Fleetwood, congratulations on your success. Not only did you win a tour event, you won the cherry that was on top, the Tour Championship. We have the clubs that Tommy Fleetwood used to win the FedEx Cup Championship right here, and his golf ball. This video is going to unpack some of the specs he used, why he used them, and a couple of drills that he does to ensure his face is in a good place, but more importantly, some stuff we can learn from the drills that he used week to week on the tour. Dive into it, be sure to hit subscribe. Tommy Fleetwood, well done. This is a good video dedicated to you. So first up out the gate, congratulations Tommy Fleetwood. What an absolute baller. Loved the way he took everyone on that success journey with him and the story to get victory. Let's dive a little bit into his golf clubs and what he does. Let's kick off with the Milgrind 5. Notice Tommy uses the Proto because he's been in this thing for so long. He's got the 56 and the 60 in those lofted wedges that he plays. Took them on pretty much straight out the gate. Ridiculous testing process when it comes to Tommy Fleetwood and his wedges because they must do certain things for his game. Other call out is how flat he plays these to help him get the spin and the fall off where he needs it. Milgrind 5 Protos, they're in. So the Milgrind 5, Tommy was big on the prototype version of this, and he was the first player, I think, to put them in. Plays a bit more belly, and I think has full face grooves on his ones, but been in since prototypes. Very particular on his wedges. It's almost like he puts them through a combine test. They've got to be able to do certain things, and providing his wedges can do those things, then he goes on to put them into play. But very particular when it comes to hitting certain yardages, having them extremely flat. Obviously it goes to say, and we've just done it in a build out video, the build spec needs to be bang on for what he plays, but if they hit all those windows, that's why he makes the change. Again, look at how it grades into the Tiger Woods set of irons. Large heads in the wedges that move into the mid irons. Next up, he combos a 52 high toe into those wedges. Something you should consider is mixing both models. Just because you think you're a Milgrind 5 guy, maybe you are, but I think because of the size and how the high toe looks in the 52, he plays that in his strongest scoring wedge before he gets into those Tiger Woods irons. Now, something he was working on is full face score lines, so the grooves going all the way across the wedges. The other thing we saw to him as we stick on short game is just how masterful he was, and Q and I got to film with him at the photo shoot, how much detail he would go into when it came to hitting long bunker shots. He would hit those shots and give a second ball into the demonstration. Perhaps we can insert it in here. A long bunker shot would be one ball behind it, sometimes two balls behind it, which would then create more friction between the wedge and the ball because more sand, and then give you a different yardage and a different reaction. So a little known fact is Tommy had some TF irons that were the Tiger irons with TFs on. There were a few of them made, but he actually prefers to play the TWs. Big Tiger fan, of course, aren't we all? The unique thing about these irons, and I think the biggest call out, yes, they're Milgrind, so you get them looking fantastic every time, Milgrind meaning the milling on the sole. But the pitching wedge is quite big. So when you put it down next to the 52 and you put the set, and I bought a 9, an 8 and a 5 here to illustrate, but notice how big they are in those lofted clubs and how much more sleek they get as you get down into the long clubs. That is the main thing about the Tiger irons that you'll notice. Yeah, the grooves are a little closer together and there's a unique groove pattern in there that Tommy plays, which is available. But at the end of the day, the reason he plays these is for the flow through the set. And I think that's something that's important to Tommy, because if you look at the 60 and the 56 and the Milgrind Proto, then moving into that 52 high toe, he clearly cares about how the clubs look through the bag as they grade in size. His lie angles What do we mean by lie angles? The relationship between the turf and the club are very flat. So the toe of the golf club is a little bit further away. This all comes for design as to the history of his golf game. I've talked personally to him about this and why he has that curtailed follow through. I'm also going to say what we can learn from it. I actually grew up having lessons from the guy who coached him for a long period of time. From where I'm from in the UK and Tommy's from in the UK, there's a guy called Alan Thompson at Heswell Golf Club. Not sure he teaches there anymore, but he was the guy that got Tommy from a young age to the player he morphed into and became. And a lot of it was controlling the face angle. So the flatter lie angles, because of the way Tommy would swing the golf club, he would have a miss left. So you take someone like Tommy's stature, it might be your stature, he's a little bit taller than me, borderline getting close to 5'10", I assume, but as a junior, when they swing the golf club can get behind you, and then you back up meaning your head will tilt back and you will flip the hands and throw them, and as you come through, you see this high finish from kids, quite often trying to hit it a long way, to hit big draws. When you go for irons that are flatter, that then means that you eliminate the left side. The reason I've got this set up like this, you'll see he has a plane for the back, for the downswing, and then he puts a yoga block where I've got the second stick. Set it up to your target. As I hit on earlier, Tommy can get a little underneath and backed up. So the reason he puts these objects in the way with the yoga block that he puts there and the plane is to ensure that he doesn't get on his checkpoints too far behind him to then flip and the arms come off the body and the face flips and the ball moves. As a result, again, the lie angle in the irons are a hair flatter. So when it comes to your custom fitting, these are things that you want to be discussing. In these Tiger irons, Tommy irons, and I've only bought 4 of them out that I think you should look at, notice how the pitching, and it's important you look at a set of irons together. So here is pitching wedge, 9 iron, 8 iron, and 5 iron. Notice how much smaller the 5 iron is in the look of the blade versus the pitching wedge. Tommy plays 52 high toe. That is a big 52-degree wedge. We have it over there. His other wedge is a mill grind 5. What he does that makes him similar to Tiger is he likes the larger iron in the wedges to progress down into the long iron. So Tommy's long irons, much like Tiger's setup, is smaller in the 5 iron versus the pitching wedge. Interesting. Think about it. A 3 iron, a 4 iron, a 5 iron, those of you who still play threes, there's not probably about 1% of you on the channel, much like the over 65-year-olds. We love you, by the way, my 1%. But you guys out there would remember you'd want a large 3 iron is what you'd think. And I've noticed on Tommy Fleetwood's recent video where he's trying to learn left-handed, he's using the Qi10 iron, which is huge, and his ball striking is all across the face. So for the Tour Champs, Tommy had the 9 wood, the 5 wood, the mini driver and the driver. He used 80 grams in the 9 and the 5 wood, and then he used 60 grams in the mini driver and the driver in the golf shafts. That's the thing you've got to learn from this. If you put more loft on your 9 wood, yes, the apex is higher, it can stop, I get it all. But one of the things I see in the golf stores when I look around is that the shafts aren't heavy enough. So there is the importance. If you've got some speed and you're looking to put one of these in to help you and you're a decent player, get the golf shaft nice and heavy. This one in my hand is 80 grams and it's tip trimmed quite a bit. It's important you consider that when you look at one of these golf clubs because it will control the apex. Also, if you catch it out the toe, because of gear effect, which is how the ball spins off the face in relation to a back center of gravity. So if you hit it toey, it'll draw. If you hit it heely, it'll fade. Designed to help you. 4 iron isn't going to do that as much as a 9 would, but you've got to have a shaft that's strong and has low torque. Low torque is twist in the blade. Tommy does that in the 9 and the 5 wood for this tournament. That's the biggest thing that you can learn from this. Weight in the shafts and low torque that are tip trimmed, meaning they cut down here. If you've got no clue what I'm talking about, there's a ton of videos in the channel that cover tip trimming and weight and why we want heavy weights in our lofted fairway woods. That's absolutely something that I don't see enough of out at retail that you can do as a good player. That particular week, he played one of these, a Qi35 9-wood, and he's flat out gone there and said, certain golf courses, this is what he likes to use. So he went from his 5-iron into his 9-wood for that given week. He plays the shaft with a little bit more weight, much like this one we've got in front of us, and he can peak height this thing wherever he feels like, because it comes down so soft with the peak height, lands so soft on those quick tour greens. So we'll just put in 9-wood here. Maybe not an ideal golf club today for the simple fact that we're hitting into breeze. But if you're Tommy Fleetwood and you're making a Tommy Fleetwood video, you make exceptions. Again, you want to be, look how short this club is when it comes to setup. Let's compare it to the 4-iron. So yardage wise, we're probably getting a little bit more out of it, but you can do so much with manipulating this golf club. Just easy to hit. Notice how quickly that stopped down there. Well, it even wasn't the best shot, but think about the ease of these versus hitting a 4-iron. The mini driver has been a club that Tommy's famously used. Reasons for it: tour tracks are long. He's got the 5-wood in, he's got the 9-wood in. He needs a beast when it comes to his 3-wood, and he happens to go for the R7 quad mini driver. He's gone for mini driver most years. The face for tour certainly isn't too deep that you can't get it to do what you need it to do. If the fairways get narrow and tight, you can put a little peg in there, no worries, it'll go in play. You know he likes to choke it down. As you've got a mini driver shaft, it plays a little shorter anyway, which means for him he can stay centered and on top of the thing, not back up, not flip, keep the ball in play. Imperative for tour, could be something that you guys out there want to consider as you look at a mini driver. The big dog, he uses a Qi35 or a version of it from the tour. It spins more than the LS. He plays it with 10.5 loft. That's quite a lot of loft. But for Tommy, he likes to see the loft so that he doesn't, again, back up. It's something I keep talking about. You see it in chipping first when it comes to poor chippers. They try and help the ball in the air. The trick is, with golf, and good golfers for sure, is to stay centered. So notice how the cap is in line with you looking at it, and turn onto the golf club, onto the golf ball, so we can hold the face angle and have that curtailed follow through. As you look at Fleetwood, he's got the left arm close to the body, similar to JJ Spawn. What are we seeing here? A trend of players that are winning big tournaments controlling the face. But if we get back to the Qi35 model, even just looking at the footprint that you guys can see, mass out in the toe and the heel. When you put it behind the ball, this thing looks a bit more blocky. That means if you hit it away from the center, it stays in play. So this is going to be a much straighter driver for you, and you're hitting some of those bomb drives you hit down the last few, all because you're using a driver that going to keep that thing in play. And of course it's dialed in to the golf ball that he uses and the spin rate, which is that TP5X Pix. The journey of Tommy and his Spider putter has been an interesting one. He's gone through the truss, he's gone through different models, he's used various Sotos from TaylorMade before, always wanted to stick on that blade. You'll notice now he's ended up in a version of what I've got in my hand. It doesn't have the True Path on, it's a black top, and then it's got a middle leading line short, like we saw with Nelly Corda, just to my finger, and then it's flanked by white lines that have been added actually by Whiteout, Tipex for the UK guys, on both the left and the right. He had an option where that was milled in, and he chose to stick with the one that had the Whiteout put on there, or the Tipex. Using the usual claw grip, and his strokes gain numbers with this putter customized for him were off the charts. The lesson here that we can all learn is that mallets ultimately are higher MOI, so they maintain speed if you don't hit them in the center. I've said it to you before, testing here at the Kingdom with some of the best putters in the world, Jason Day, Dustin Johnson, John Rahm, they don't hit the center all the time, believe it or not, from 15 feet. And that's a fact when we put them on the system. So anything that maintains the energy transfer, the ratio of speed, the smash factor when it comes to woods and irons, anything that maintains that speed is going to help your putting. That can be seen with Tommy when it comes to the stats. It's another cracking example of how he embraces technology and takes it on board. He goes through his due diligence and his testing, but he embraces it to make him maximize, optimize his performance. We can all learn from that too. Another good reason you should be out there chatting to your fitter about what's out there for your game and what can help you. So what can we learn from the overall look of Tommy Fleetwood's set? The number one thing, and we see this from him at every test session that he comes to, is his open-minded nature to try new things. He's one of the few players on tour that is in the PIX golf ball. Look at the numbers, the strokes gained putting he had with that. The Spider putter, it took him a long time to get into that. We had a journey through the truss model that went into that putter. He's tried lie angle balance putters. He's tried everything. I can even confirm that he practices sometimes at home with old traditional hickory stuff when it comes to playing. He's told me he takes those things out in a little carry bag just out of respect for where golf's come from. I think as you look at his set, he keeps some tradition in there with the Tiger Woods irons, but the fact that he's got a high toe wedge comboed with Qi35 PROTO, first player to get into that, then you can look at a lofted 9-wood. Not many players go down that route, certainly to replace a 4-iron. Then he's got a 4-iron that's a P770 that's polar opposite really. Now it's a cracking club, polar opposite though from a bladed 5-iron through to lofted fairway woods that he's even said on the Trottie Golf channel, how good is a 9-wood? His exact words. Mini driver has a place in that bag because he knows his skills on large golf courses. And then the Qi35 core model. Not been many players that have put that in either. So I think the thing to take away from this as we learn from Tommy Fleetwood is just how open he is to trying stuff, putting it through a tough regime, knowing his data, knowing his numbers, having a great relationship with his equipment providers and the launch monitor and the ball flight, and remembering that the score is what's required to get it done. Even the way he played those last few holes, it was all in an attempt to get it done. Yes, he'd staggered over the line, but you could almost see as we went on the journey with him, as he explained, that we were learning with him almost how to win these massive, massive tournaments. If you love what you're seeing and you want more of this, get in the comments, let me know what you want to see. Huge congratulations to Tommy Fleetwood. I've been on the peripheral of this journey, but to see it and to know what you've put into it, massive congratulations. Well done to our tour champion for 2025.